It's bigger. It's louder. It's better than ever. This still isn't your typical motorsports podcast. This is the 10th anniversary of Crush This, a monster truck podcast brought to you by J Concepts. For 10 years, your hosts, the monster truck Canucker Brad Shaw and Dan Chichagash, have brought you into the minds and personalities of the monster truck industry. Strap in and hold on tight. This is Crush This!
Hey, welcome to another episode of Crush This Monster Podcast presented by J Concepts. Right there. I'm Dan Chiche. Gosh, what's going on? Brad says he's coming back in, looks like in a month with schooling. Gotta show off this nice Goodyear hat. Got that at a thrift store. And actually got there. I got Ross. So, and then go from there. Got a clean shave a little bit cleaner, but I was just trying the handlebar. Go from there and see how it goes. But once again, guys, like I said, last time we talked, went to Enid, Oklahoma, put on a good performance and had a good time and fun time, and then caught up with our guest and their crew. Went bowling. Found out that I am rusty at that sport. And still working on that, but hey, it's all in good fun. And then, we are going to do some displays in the next couple weeks. Kurt will be on display with Hot Seat in Dallas. I will be doing a display with Raminator in Las Vegas. And then a couple guys are doing some displays at Bristol Motor Speedway. And hey guys, what's going on? So we're going from there. But once again, guys, thank you to J Concepts. If you go to jconcepts.net and come on, there we go. Type in Crush This at checkout. You get 15% off all items on the checkout itself. So go to crushthis.com. They just came out with the new Recon RC truck, and that's pretty cool. The new one that just came out, so show some love that a lot of people have been putting that together, and it's one of a kind. To me, I'm excited about it because I think I'm gonna make it into a sport mod and come out with maybe some cool ideas and stuff like that with that truck, and go from there. But like I said, if you want to get some tires, bodies, even the new cool engines that they have, like the 17 turn or the 27 turn motors, man, those are some silent turns or some pretty awesome stuff. And it's awesome to go around and take a look at that. And that's going to be coming out here soon. RC monster truck racing season, the indoor seasons are just finishing up, and now we're getting ready for some outdoor stuff, which is going to be pretty cool stuff to go do. And I can't wait for that to happen. But like I said, go to jconcepts.net for 15% off all items. Go ahead and take a look at that. Also, if you guys want to, go to our spread shop and get some cool merchandise with that too. Our spreadshop.com. Crush This, get some hats, some hoodies, cups, mugs, magnets, stuff like that. Go ahead and take a look at that stuff and come on over and enjoy your time at our spread shop and go from there. So we are excited about that. If you guys can't make it, or you're watching, can't make it, watch this, go to monstermonthly.com. They have our episodes and stuff like that to go see. Pretty cool to see and catch up on when you're missing out on episodes. Once again, guys, normally our podcast is on iTunes and on Spotify. Something happened, and we may have to start over again. But if you guys want to watch our live stream and watch this going on and try to catch up on it. Well, instead, also go monstersmonthly.com. With the competition that we had in Enid, Oklahoma, we also had 2 other trucks outside Kerr and Mark, and that is Eric and his wife and Swanson. Pretty obsessed, but we got the OG, the dad himself, the one that, by the way, is a 2006 Monsters of Destruction champion, and we'll be talking about that. We'll catch up and everything like that too. So we have Mr. Rick Swanson on, and we are going to throw in one of our sponsors and go from there. So here we go.
Are you ready to get in on the action here on the Monster Truck Attitude YouTube channel? Look no further. Head over to Facebook where you can sign up for all the great events we host right here on the MTA YouTube channel. Be sure to sign up for the events and register your name and get locked in with a monster truck of your own and get ready for the great thrills and spills right here on the MTA YouTube channel. Again, find us on Facebook, register for these events, and you soon will be competing in all the great events. We hope to see you there, and get ready for the wild and crazy action. Be sure to subscribe and turn on all notifications so you don't miss a beat right here on the Monster Truck Attitude YouTube channel.
Hey, that was a pretty good MTA Monster Truck Attitude. Thank you for the downhill Monster Truck Racing. Steve does an awesome job. And thank you for what he's done and everything like that. But, man, we got a lot of catching up to do there, Rick. Last time we had you on was maybe a few years back, and you helped our podcast out big time with you doing your the company Obsessware. And we kind of delivered our first ever kind of T-shirts and stuff like that with the product in general. And we've been doing this for 10 years. Which is pretty crazy. I know there's a lot of podcasts here and there, but we keep on striving and keep on going. But man, Rick, it's nice to see you again. It was awesome talking to you last weekend. Actually, 2 weeks ago, yeah.
Yeah, it was great hanging out. Been a long time since I seen Mark and Tim. Had a great time, as you said. I'm not doing the driving anymore. That's Eric and Misha's job, which I tried to get them to be here so I didn't have to do everything. But you see, I lost the battle.
Yeah, we'll have them on another episode and have them talking stuff. We had Eric maybe a couple of years back just by himself. But, we talk about a little bit of this, time, I guess, line-esque deal. And, for a lot of people may not know, I mean, you had a past history of building some awesome, Project Broncos and stuff like that in the West Coast scene. What got you intrigued to even start pursuing monster trucks? I remember one time you were telling me that Rolling Thunder, the monster van, was not that far away from you.
No, it was actually about 14 miles away from where I grew up. And we used to always drive by and see it over the fence. We didn't know them or nothing. We just knew where it was. And after graduating high school and doing a few things, we started fixing up the Bronco. And because it was such a unique truck, it got a lot of attention. One thing led to another. After about 5 years at SEMA, I started building trucks for Ford, and that's when my buddy Frank Scantini was there, and I'm like, "You're getting paid to be here?" He goes, "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh, we need to do a monster truck."
And so you basically you had all your sponsors and stuff like that. Were you nervous pitching this idea to these sponsors to try to get one together?
Definitely, because they didn't make the products for the monster trucks, but they made similar products. So what we did is we, like our seat sponsor, obviously didn't make a race seat because it was for leather interior, that kind of stuff. So they bought my race seat, and then I sent them the cover, and they embroidered their name on it. Super Lifts did this, gave me a good check for the time. They didn't build the suspension parts for it, but they wanted their name associated with the truck. So we just kept doing that. Ford came about, and everything just kept rolling pretty good. The Ford deal was actually one of the best because we had to fix up the truck for SEMA and a few other shows. And then at the end of 18 months, we got to sell it. So here we had this all done up truck that we got to sell, and that went money into the race team.
So then you come around, and I'm really curious about this because, with the show truck you had, but you could have picked any other scheme with the truck. I believe this is your first, I think,
First
assembly,
monster.
the first one right there. But the famous, I guess you would say, the reverse kind of, I don't know, it reminds me of one of those solo cups. But I always call it like the tire claw, or the the nails going through, like to me it looks like a tiger, stripe, or a tiger like cutting its way through with it's in there. But that's the way I pictured the paint job. But how did you want, I mean, this with your show truck, but to continue on with the monster truck, where you could just talk to whoever or create a different look, or because it became iconic. That look right there, if you know that truck's at the show, you're going to be there. It was one of those deals where you got an iconic paint scheme. And how did that all come about?
Well, I had the show truck. That was like the second version of the Bronco. I had it. It was different. Just kind of got this thing that I wanted it to look. I wanted the front end to be a different color than the back end, but I wanted it to look like it was ripping into the next color. So like the purple was there, but it's underneath the yellow, and the yellow was ripping back. And a friend of mine just kind of sketched it out. And once we had that, we went, oh, we're doing it.
Yeah. And then, so after you did that, so I guess through the show trucks and stuff like that, taking them to places, people noticed you having that scheme. That's the easy way for you to transition from that to the monster truck then?
Yeah, I'm really, I don't want to say possessive, but it's all about image. It's just like right now, all the trucks are bump sides, F100 bump sides, even the ride truck. Once we start something, I like to run with it as long as we can. That way you're known for something. I don't want to be known for swapping every year and everybody going, well, who is it this year? I want to have a standing relationship, so to speak, with the people, so they know who's going to be there.
Man, that's pretty cool to see that. And the crazy thing is, it just continued on too, because I think that paint scheme also continued on when you had the Line-X deal also.
Yep.
With that truck in general. And and like you said before, I'm gonna show here a picture of the Four Wheel Action magazine, because you had a lot of those magazines out where not a lot of the big trucks, not a lot of the monster trucks, not a lot of project trucks, in our industry got to those magazines. I mean, there were special, like I talked before with you on the phone, like, yeah, you had the special edition, or maybe the Bigfoot 12 one, but outside of that, I can't think of any other that was mainstream pickup truck wise. And then come about, you got, your truck in the industry, or in the magazine, I mean.
Well, so I was lucky where I grew up. The magazines were by me, so that obviously helped. By the time I sold it, that truck had been in the magazines, in 180 magazines, and like 8 of them were covers. So that helped the recognition. When we started go to the monster trucks, yes, I was very lucky or I was very fortunate, I should say, because what I had. But you got to remember, Frank was working for Off Road Magazine at the time when he finished his truck, and they had a build process on it. They had, the finish process, the whole article on it. So because of knowing him and having something good enough that they weren't embarrassed to put on their pages, that's how this whole thing started.
Man, that's pretty cool. So, can you talk about your first time driving your monster truck, or did you have a place to practice it, or go from there?
My very first time driving a monster truck, literally first time driving it, I drove it from the back door of SEMA to my trailer. The next time I drove it was in the LA Coliseum for USAJ Hot Rod Association at the time. And that would have been Pace Motorsports, I'd guess. I think that's what it was back then.
98, 90, 97, 98, 99 era?
96.
Okay.
No, so finished in 96, so it would have been 97.
Okay. So there wasn't there another truck called Obsession out in Canada too? Or out?
Yes, there was.
So no confusion, because I think a lot of people think that was your first truck.
No, that was not my first truck.
Okay.
What that was we both kind of came up with the name the same way, everything. He bought a pre-existing truck and changed the name.
Mm-hmm.
And I was building my truck. I was a member of the MTRA. I had my dues paid and everything like that when that truck popped up. And I actually made a phone call and said, "That's pretty cool. My truck got certified when it's not even done yet." And they're all, "What do you mean?" I go, "It says Obsession's a certified truck." And luckily, because of where I was coming from and I had the ins with all the promoters, which is the whole reason I got into monster trucks, is because there was a pathway already started. And because of that, I ran with that guy twice or three times, I can't remember, for old USA Motorsports way back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually listed him as Obsession number 2. And then so he ended up changing the name after that.
Gotcha. Okay, that was the purple body with the Obsession on the side of it, and it was
it was an old leaf spring truck.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And let's see here. Oh, thank you. The mustache, you were saying it looks epic. I'll take that. Off topic, I wanted to hear the story, and it was pretty interesting because my roommate, he's very close to you. He told me that you not really saved the day, but there was a car wreck. Someone was on some type of material, and you hauled ass and tackled that son of a gun on the ground, and the wait from cops to show up. Levi told me it was like a potential person trying to steal a car. But it was okay. Let me get this straight back. He told me that you're on display, and Levi and his dad comes over.
Yep.
I already called them out already. So, they went to your display, and there was a car accident. Like a mother and a kid was in a car and got hit. And you came over, try to see if they're all right. And the person got out of the vehicle and started running, and you chased after them and tackled them. And they thought that the person was under the influence on some type of situation, but is that true or false?
No, it's true, but there's a little more to the story.
Okay.
I was a whole lot younger, first of all. I could run back in those days. So what happened, the truck was parked right next to the sidewalk, and it was on display. God, what was it called? Cook's Tire or something like that, I think the place was called. Don't quote me on it, but I think that's what it was. And light was red. The curb lane was open. The rest of the lanes had, cars waiting for the light to turn green. And this idiot hit the curb, squeezed through in between the cars. Well, when he tried to come back into the intersection, he clipped the car that was waiting at the light, ended up sliding out to the oncoming traffic, hit the oncoming traffic. There was just an old man in the car. He was pointing at him, and this guy hit him sideways, and it rolled up and over that car. We all took off because we didn't know what to do. I ran up. The old man was, for lack of better words, just in shock, but he was okay. And so I went to the car that was rolled over, dove down, and nobody was in it. And I'm like, where did they go? So I popped up, and I mean, by now you've got a crowd. There's a crowd building up, and everybody yelled, "Oh, he took off down the street!" And I'm like, nobody stopped him. How could you do this? So I took off running, and there was a guy on a Harley that come flying down, caught up to me, and goes, "Hop on, we'll go get him." I was like, hot damn, we got some support. And we chased this guy down, and I chased him to a porch. He was on a porch of a house acting like he belonged there. And the lady was scared to death in the house. She was looking out the windows. I'm yelling, call the cops, call the cops. For lack of better words. And we just kind of went from there, and it was, I don't want to say it was like a all-out brawl, but it was a pretty good fight till the cops came, because this guy was high on drugs, and thank God I was a whole lot younger and a whole lot more able at the time. Now he would have been gone. I just couldn't do it, but back then I could. And it was, the cops came. It took 3 cops to get him handcuffed. So it was a big deal. So yeah, I forgot Levi was even there.
Yeah, he told me. He said, ask Kirk about that thing where he kind of saved the day, and yeah, I was like, man, that's sometimes that's crazy to think about it. I have been on display at Ram dealerships, and like you're just sitting there. And one time we were in, I'm gonna screw up this town name. It's in Texas, Waxahachie, Texas. It's right outside Dallas. Waxahachie, Texas, I think it is. And we're just sitting there, minding our own business, and here comes a rig and some trash, like one of those. It looks like a U, but it's a dumpster, trash dumpster that have junk and stuff. And I think it's one of those that like rotates if you try to dump. Anyway,
Gotcha.
There's an exit turn that you go through to get to the dealership, and he hauled tail, and I literally saw in my own eyes the thing just bam, just slid in. We got up to check if he was all right, and he said I had no brakes, and I was like, oh hot damn, that's a scary moment, but as long as you're all right, man. But you're not gonna get out of this situation. But it's the weirdest things happen, and it just comes out of nowhere. You're not planning on it. I don't think that morning you're gonna wake up going, oh, I'm just gonna help some people out and chase after a guy.
No, and you got to remember, that's not something you think about, but it's not something, unfortunately, and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, so please don't take this the wrong way, but nowadays people avoid getting involved at all cost. And that's just not, you're not helping your neighbor out. You got to help out.
They want to do this.
Exactly.
You know, oh, why didn't you help that guy? Well, I have it on file and stuff like that. You know, okay. But we actually have some few questions here for you, Rick, and one from my co-host Brad Shaw, and he says, "Any memories doing any tours in Canada?"
So I'd done Vancouver twice. And then I wasn't driving. I had the weekend off, and this goes back a while. Mike Wells come up to me in Anaheim and said, "Hey, I need a driver for the truck, for the semi." I'm like, "For what?" He goes, "Our driver can't get into Canada. He's got a DUI." And I'm like, "Okay, what do you need?" And I took Chucky's digger and Frank Kremel's. It was the Del Scorcho truck at the time.
Mm.
And I remember I took him up there, took it to the display and whatnot. We were having a good time. I got a phone call like early Saturday morning. And it was Mike Wells, and he goes, "Hey, I'm sending somebody over. Can you keep an eye on him and whatnot?" And I'm like, "No, you hired me to drive a truck. I'm not a babysitter." And he's like, "But Rick, I really need this done." And I'm like, "Mike, you hired me for something. I don't need some kid walking around basically in the way. You know, I already got one of those. The crew guy at the time that's exactly what he was. He was hired. I think he worked 1 quarter for him, and that was it. And so anyways, it ended up being Cam McQueen. And so you can ask him to this day. I've seen him while he was driving. I seen him for many years after that. And he always would come up to me and tell me, "Thanks." He goes, "It was you that got who I was first met with." And the best part about it was, so in freestyle, Chucky blew a tranny cooler. No big deal. Just bypass it, because I had to catch a plane the next day. So I had to drive back to Portland and jump on a plane. And then their driver was flying up to Portland. So we had this all worked out. I figured that's no big deal. He blew a line. Their quote unquote crew guy, I told him 5/8 and 11/16. So that's what you'll need to take that line off. I said, "Go find me a number 6 hydraulic line." Well, he didn't know what that was. He'd walk into the trailer and just like in awe, like he's never seen a trailer before. So I give him the wrenches. I tell him what to do. You know, this is how we're going to do it. I find a hydraulic line because all the tool drawers are marked what's inside them. It's not that hard. So I tell him to do this. Me and Cam, and now remember, Cam's just there to look at the time. He's not there to do anything, any of that stuff. Well, I put him in a Gravedigger shirt and made him look like crew guy and pushed him out into the pit party. He's like, "Man, a lot of people know this truck."
I was about to say, Cam is, if you may not know Cam, I mean, he's actually pretty good a mechanical guy. He has a couple, Land Cruisers that he's been putting together from the Toyota Land Cruisers and stuff like that. What is that? A FJ, I think they're called, or
something like that. Yeah.
I thought that's pretty cool.
It was really cool because I asked Cam, I'm like, "Hey, I need to get out of here in the morning. Can you help me knock these tires off?" I said, I got to knock them off, roll them into the trailer. Me and him got all 8 tires off and loaded. And I turned around, and this guy's still messing with this cooler line. I'm like, "What are you doing?" And I mean, I'm not trying to be mean, but I'm just like, this should have been a 5-minute job. You know, we shouldn't be waiting for you after we got tires loaded. So and he wasn't even allowed to drive the trucks, load them or anything. He couldn't do any of that. So I go, "Get out of the way." And I look, and he has literally taken the blue and red part of the fitting apart. And that's why he told me it was the wrong size, because it's a different size on the blue part of the fitting versus the red part. And I said, "You weren't supposed to take this apart." So I ended up just pulling the little line that I found in the trailer, just looped it over, And I loaded the trucks, and by the time Frank and Chucky got back from autographs, they were loaded.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. Learning about the monster trucks is there's a certain time zone, certain time to fix it, and there's certain time just to put the shit back together so you can load it in the trailer and fix it another time.
Well, and they had, so we were only going from Vancouver, BC,
Back to Portland, right?
back to Portland. So it's what, a 400-mile drive roughly? No, not even that far. Mid threes probably. And I had to go jump on an airplane. So I was like, let's go. And I said, you guys have all week to fix this. I'm taking it straight to the building. So you got plenty of time. And it's funny to see how people that are new into the industry and don't grasp what it all takes to be in this industry.
Oh yeah. It's a learning curve and stuff like that. And more power to them if they keep on want to pursue and learn about it. But it's a sink or swim moment, and a lot of times it's just throwing fire and go from there. So.
Yep.
So we got one. I got actually a Discord question for you from Jack Meredith. He wanted to know, with being, so you had an awesome deal. Let me go backtrack here. Awesome deal with Line-X. People may not know Line-X. It's like Penda, isn't it? Like bed liners and
yep,
like Herculine
spray and bed liners.
Yeah, and you had a very good relationship. I don't know if they're still around. Line-X still around?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yep. They have. I can't tell you the number of dealers offhand anymore. I used to know, but they're throughout the country.
You had a good. It's probably still have a good relationship with Line-X, and in the late '90s and early 2000s. Very, very few trucks outside of, let's just say, you had Bigfoot with Ford and Summit, the Halls with Ram, Creedon with Chuck's Cragen, the auto parts company. But there was a lot of there was a few amount of teams around the country that had a good title, I guess we would say, sponsored their trucks, and you were one of them with Line-X.
Yep.
And his question with the relationship that you had with Line-X is, he said, with there being 3 additional obsessions running in the early 2000s under KCM, Rod Wood, and Scott Hartsock, which I think is the Line-X call, but okay. He was wondering about that time. How did that work? To come up with, having all these different teams helping you out throughout the country, and they're all unique too, because Rod was still out west, but he was like in Arizona. You got Scott Hartsock, and then you have Craig and them. So how did that all come together and all that worked out?
It was all part of the negotiations of the sponsorship. In order to be more places, more time to ask for more money, we needed more trucks. And that's what they were willing to pay more. And then I turned around and had private contracts with them. So like, let's use Scott, for instance. Scott had a full season booked or a full first quarter booked with Monster Jam. He threw the Line-X Obsession body on the second truck, got paid from Monster Jam, and then I wrote him a check on top of that so he could, make more money and give him a reason to run my body. Same with Rod. Craig, we had some other stuff worked out. That was earlier in the beginning. We actually have a picture. I don't know where it's at, but the very, very front corner of SEMA, we had Craig's Line-X truck, my Line-X truck parked on top of his Dragon Slayer truck.
Okay.
right out there on the corner.
And what was the conversation like to have rods a little bit different, the white and red look compared to the other trucks, including yours?
It, yeah. Because he was close to me, and we would actually cross over sometimes. And his McGruff was originally red, white, and like beige. So he went with those colors. So it was still distinct because it was the paint scheme, but it also gave him a uniqueness that also kept his colors to his truck to kind of keep his truck alive. Like I always say, you see a lot of these people run different bodies and this and that. And that's great. You get a lot of work from, you sign with somebody to run a different body and whatnot, and they'll do it on their primary truck. Secondary truck's not a big deal, but primary truck, what happened? Let's say you do that for 2 years. The third year, you don't do that, and you try and book your truck, and everybody's going, who are you again? So I think it's very important to keep the names with the trucks.
Mm. Let's see. Let's go with. So basically, was it just a first quarter ordeal, or was it a whole year?
It was 80% first quarter, 20% the rest of the year.
Okay. All right. Because I didn't know if there was I'm trying to get this photo to you. It's I think it's pretty neat because someone found it, and it's your trucks on top of let's see here. There we go. On Dragon Slayer.
Yep, that'd be at SEMA. And what's really cool about that, so part of that deal was Linux paid for our hotel rooms to be in Vegas. And I was checking into the Hilton, and Don Garlitz was 2 people in front of me. And a lot of people were asking him for his autograph and whatnot. And I just simply asked him, I said, I take it you're here for the show. And he goes, yeah. He goes, I got some autographs to sign. He goes, I assume you're here for the show too? And I said, yeah. I said, I got the 3. There you go. I got the 3 monster trucks out front. Or I'm part of the 3 monster trucks out front. And he goes, drove by, saw them. That's pretty cool. And that was the extent of the conversation.
It's also kind of neat how crazy colorful your truck was. Like, why what got you to pick the green instead of traditional black colored?
Because of coming from show trucks.
There it is. There's your Bronco. Has the same
as the monster truck.
Got that. I'll answer my own question.
Well, because of the show trucks, every bolt had to be turned just right. Because we were doing the ISCA show car at the time. And so you had actual points. Like when you parked the truck for the car show, you jacked it up, rotated all the tires so the name was across the top. The valve stem was at the bottom. You mounted the tires so the valve stem could be at the bottom, name across the top. Any bolt that was showing was the same all the way across. They returned the same. It got stupid on some of the stuff we did. And because of coming from that background, I just assumed the monster trucks had to be that background. I saw pictures in the dark. The black frames was something I just personally didn't care for. I didn't think it showed off the truck enough. How's that?
Right, and it's not just that. I honestly don't think you had a black chassis. I think every chassis that you ever owned has been a different color. Either it's a blue or that's behind you, the purple when you had I think in the 2000 teens,
Yep.
when you also was running wrong way Rick, you had let's see here, Blue also when you're running the Fab Tech deal.
Yep.
And then also we can go to the green also. So that's pretty cool that you had, one outside the box on that stuff.
Well, part of that too was because when I was living in Southern California, I did a lot of movie stuff and TV stuff, commercial, but they'd come and strip the name off and do all this kind of stuff, put their name on it because, they're not paying to advertise for somebody else, they're paying to advertise for them. And like one time they wrapped the whole truck up like a poodle. It had carpet all over it, which I could care less. The fact that the color of the truck underneath was the same, everybody knew who it was.
That's pretty cool. So we're gonna take a break here and gonna thank one of our sponsors, and then we're gonna talk about your MOD years and that the 06 when you won the championship and stuff like that. So we'll be right back. Hey, just want to say thank you to Colby Marshall and MTRC. They do a lot of cool videos on the RC world, and also J Concept sponsored group. And take a look at his videos on YouTube itself also. So while we're doing this, we're gonna share screen here, and while we're talking about this. So, it was pretty cool, for me following this, watching, the Outdoor Channel and watching Monsters of Destruction back in like 2016 and not 2016, 2006, 2007 year. And you went ahead and you're reversing some awesome tracks, but you're also taking on some badass people. For me, this is the first time I got introduced to the Natural High truck, Calvin Raymer, later on, Rosalie, and pretty much, you guys toured together throughout the late 2000, before 2020, before, COVID and stuff like that. You guys are doing Monster Jam tours together a lot of times. Frank Scatini, your buddy, the Monster Jerky, the one that had the motocross-esque driving, wheel and stuff like that. Not wheel, but what I'm talking about. And then you
Handlebars.
Handlebars, yeah. Creedon. Then you had Rick Long, Dan Rente. But then you also got Mr. Dan Patrick, which for the guys going out west was, he was racing against you guys. And I know you guys were good friends and you get a lot of equipment from him. A lot of your back then, I mean, pretty much most of your chassis were a Patrick chassis in a lot of parts, but it was kind of a cool little rivalry that you guys were having, back in the heyday of MOD. But anything, when you just, I thought it was pretty cool. And congratulations, by the way, for winning that championship.
Thank you. So MOD, you were a year off. MOD was actually 2005, 2006.
Okay.
2005, Craig won it in Dragon Slayer. Mid 2006, my dad passed away, and I was hell bent for election to make sure I won it, no matter what. And I had a lot of people tell me, watch, because I'd tell people, I'm going to win this. It was that I was horrible about it. The reason why is I had meaning. I wanted that championship trophy to put on my mom's mantle. And MOD themselves actually did. They made, they had the championship trophy, and then they also had a duplicate because they knew I wanted to put it on my mom's mantle, and then they gave me one too.
Man, and like we talk about, the competition was pretty dang good. You had all these names, also racing against Dan, both Dans, D2, Dan Patrick, Dave Harkey, Rick Long, Creedon, Lindsey Wink. The competition was not no slouch, for you and stuff like that. And, oh, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay. So talk about the competition of MOD and also the tracks themselves.
Well, the tracks were never the same. Some of them were pretty wild. Some of them were huge. Some of them were small. They all kind of bounced back and forth. So it all was a matter of making it all happen. The competition was straight up racing, and it was all about bragging rights.
And you were all out, it was mostly West Coast shows, right?
Oh no, we did 2 in Ohio. Where else did we do? We went back east for like 4 weeks.
Okay.
And everybody that was there, there wasn't. So freestyle was kind of an option to do. It was all about the racing, and that's what I've been about the whole time. That's what I like to do. I never have liked freestyle. Never cared for it. I like to watch it, but in racing, it's you against somebody else. It's not you trying to win over the crowd. You know what I mean? So if you do good, you're going to do good, period. Even with Monster Jam, I actually had Jimmy come up to me one of my last years of driving, and Jimmy Creedon, and because he always calls me Swanson. He's all, Swanson? He goes, I remember when I used to be scared to race against you. What happened?
Look at that, Paul Jensen. If anyone remember that guy, he's the one that's on the flagship of Team Throttle Monster. So he has some. Yeah, he's been racing quite few many years too.
Oh yeah, I can remember when Paul started. I believe his first truck was. Craig actually got Permatex bedliner on Paul's first truck. And see, that's what people don't understand. The monster truck industry, if somebody has a sponsor, everybody goes after the same sponsor. It's like, no, go after their competition. That's your best chance. That's where you're going to get sponsored. You're not going to steal a sponsor from somebody else.
So, and if you watch the race between you and Paul here, well, that's competition right there, because you were running FabTech and he was running Rough Country.
Yep.
That right there is a competition for pickup truck lifted suspension and stuff like that. So I remember I looked in the FabTech for my Ford Ranger, and I didn't really know a lot about them until SEMA. They had a booth in SEMA, not SEMA, PRI. Yeah. I remember, and they were doing all sorts of stuff, which is crazy because if you look at this, you have ProComp.
It's another suspension company.
You have also Chuck's Cragen, which is an auto parts dealer that later on got bought out by O'Reilly's. So right there, you had back-to-back races. Well, you had 3 races back-to-back with some type of sponsorship truck. And that was very keen, because also later during this whole series, you guys are also on the Outdoor Network. Weird time slots, but I knew about it, and I stayed up until like 11 or 12 o'clock Saturday night, but they played like 4 episodes of that stuff. And then, not to mention, Dan with Swanson had his company PEI all over his truck. So that's another self-sponsored bearing out. And I think also the company, it's Outdoor Network, had a monster truck there called Monster Moose that also was on TV too. So I mean, that have the feel of that going on, that got to be, the professionalism that you see in this got to be exciting, right?
Oh, it definitely was. I mean, you go to a show now and you're there for entertainment. You want to win, you want to do the best you can, but there's not that strive. So like MOD, first to last place was all broken up in your pay. Last place, you knew if you took last place both days, you were going to get X if you just had a horrible, horrible weekend. But if you do good, your paycheck went up. And your paycheck was going up at the time was, for lack of better words, was Bigfoot money if you won, versus just our money, because we didn't have the name.
Let's see here. Go. Oh, hold on one second. I'm sorry about that.
That's all right.
There we go. All right. We got more footage here for you. There we go. Okay. So this one, I think, is in 2005. So you had the Line-X paint scheme going on here. But, coming around here, and then, you had to race all this top competitors and stuff like that. Like you said, you're going through different weeks and stuff like that. And, you pretty much had to keep up with it. I mean, you kept up with it. You won the championship. The way I was trying to ask about this is the improvement, just racing everyone over and over again. For me, being a fan out east, this is how I got to know you, because of this outside of Monster Jam. So with that going on with the racing and stuff like that, I mean, did you start getting a lot more people trying to get your truck at different shows?
Definitely. So the first year, that was my last year of Line-X, and we already knew that. And FabTech came along, and like normally sponsors are signed September at the latest, for the following year. Usually it's June, July, you're talking about it, and hopefully by the end of July, you've got a signed contract. Well, because of this, that's what allowed, I actually started talking to FabTech at SEMA. Now, of course, I knew a lot of people there, which I still talk. The original owner was Dave Winter. I literally still talk to him now, because we're friends. A lot of the sponsors that I had over the years, I'm still in contact with.
Now, this organization, they have nothing to do with the current one, where I think Mike Moore and them.
It's Lee Collins.
Lee Collins. Okay, so
the race you're looking at right now is Monroe Speedway, and it was a Collins show, MOD needed more racing on. MOD was there filming. And that's why Lee ended up with the MOD name.
Okay. All right. That's something new. I didn't know. I thought because and then there were connection with the muscle machines, right?
MOD had the connection with the muscle machines, yes.
Okay, that would have been the kind of like the toys like this right here that you had like a Line X and stuff like that
Yep.
with it, and went from there. So, still, that's some pretty cool stuff going on there, but we got one more group to say thank you to, and then we're gonna talk about the transition from having your son on board and go from there. So we'll be right back. Once again, thank you to Back Channel Productions on YouTube. Take a look at his stuff, Nick Davis, and everything he does. It's pretty cool with Back Channel Productions on YouTube. So we gotta talk about you and your boy. We raced him a couple weeks ago at Enith, and man, Eric has took the team with your help. Also, I mean, now it's Obsessed Racing with his wife.
I'm at least part of it. Is what you're saying?
Yeah. You have two beautiful trucks that are behind you right now, and how that come about, with your son interested, and also for a few times, I think your other son Bo was driving too for a little bit.
That's my nephew.
Or nephew. I'm sorry, I do apologize. But how you now the team is growing further down the line until whenever you guys want to stop.
That's what we're hoping for. I moved to Idaho at the end of 2020 when California went batshit crazy, and with all the COVID stuff and whatnot. So I moved up to Idaho. Mid-November, I think it was, and didn't know anybody up here or whatnot. Christmas came around. Knew a guy in Salt Lake. We went down to his house for Christmas. We've families have known each other for a long time. The day after Christmas, Eric, because like I said, we had just moved. We hadn't set the shop up. We were working every day, just getting everything set up and moved in and all that kind of stuff. And Eric goes, "Dad, let's take the dirt bikes out." And I was like, "All right, we've worked enough. We could go have some fun." So behind my property is a canal for farming, and it's pretty big. It's like 65 feet wide. It's the main canal that feeds from here to Twin. And so we got up on the road, and I was just cruising, not doing anything. Well, Eric goes flying by me on a wheelie, just to rub it in. So I clicked it up a gear, caught up to him, and I saw a mound of dirt on my right. Eric was on my left. And I'm like, crap, this kid's going to hit that. And I'm at his back wheel right now. Next thing I know, he doesn't know I'm there. He goes to hit this mound for a jump. I clamp the brakes. I lay it down. I'm like, all right, I'll just lay it down. No big deal. I'll slide. I got my gear on. It won't be bad. Well, that's when I found out that ground freezes here in Idaho, not like Southern California. So it was rock hard. I ended up breaking 6 ribs and puncturing a lung.
Wow.
So as I laid, some hunters came by, got me home. Actually got me into my bedroom. I said, just lay me down. I'll be all right. I didn't think it was that bad. And I told my wife, I'm like, I gotta go to the hospital. Something ain't right. I gotta go to the hospital. Takes me over to the hospital here in town. They transport me to Pocatello. That's where we find out there's actually 6 broken ribs and a punctured lung. And I was like, oh, great. So I spent a week in the hospital, and I called Eric one day and I'm like, hey, what do you think about Bo driving? You and him have always dreamed about this. And Bo hadn't started his schooling yet. So it just worked out perfect. He could I think he spent 2 years driving in between his school and whatnot. And right now, Bo's a dad, doing his thing, and worked out great. I mean, it was awesome. I did my own show here in town, and Bo came and drove the ride truck for the show. So I mean, it was just something that this happened. So now we have to jump over to another thing. In fact, Travis and Tyler, the Groffs, I had 3 or 4 Monster Jams booked already, and obviously I can't go. So I called them, and Tyler's exact comment was, "You better have Travis drive because I'll break something." And I'm like, all right. They were in Salt Lake City. I'm sitting in my chair at home, and Paul Jensen, I get 2 texts from him right away. And it's literally the truck rolling over. And I mean, he hasn't even gotten out of the truck yet, and Paul's already sent me the text. And I'm like, oh, I see how this goes. Well, it just so happened the following year at Red Bluff for the West Coast Nationals, Paul tumbles, and I'm just taking pictures as fast as I can. And while he's still climbing out of the truck, I'm sending him to his phone. And he gets out of the truck, he waves, and he was like 30 feet from me, and he saw me. I go, don't worry, you already got pictures on your phone. And he's like, great. I go, payback's a bitch, ain't it?
And Bo also had a truck called Wild Card, I think.
Yeah, so Wild Card was Obsession. I didn't want him. I wanted him to have his own gig. You know what I mean? Just so he wasn't following in footsteps or trying to do anything not that was him. So Bo actually designed that truck, everything.
Man, so you also have, Eric started driving the truck called Obsessed while you were still representing Obsession. And then
Yes.
It's pretty cool that, his wife is now pretty obsessed. So you're obsessed and pretty obsessed, but you also got, you still have the BJ Johnson says, I bet he has a pair of sweatpants on.
Nope. Got shorts on.
Oh, shorts. Oh. Still, you have so many cool identities with the
Hi,
wrong
BJ.
way, with the wrong way Rick and everything like that. And it's still, it's pretty cool that you still have the, the obsessed, that originality word on your team.
Yeah, well, the company's Obsession Racing, so it'll never go away.
It's still pretty cool, having that going on. And
well, and truth be known, I know you got a backdrop behind me, but you can see all the way back behind me. There's another CRD chassis going together, which will be Pretty Obsessed, and then the Pretty Obsessed truck is going back to Obsession. I want to drive one more time.
That'd be pretty cool. Any ideas on where you want to run?
Let me try it in the backyard and see if I can do it first.
Oh, man. Yeah, BJ said always a good time with Rick and Eric, true professionals in the business. So that's pretty cool. And then like you said, you have the ride truck. I think you guys did a pretty cool outing last week. You had family or something, and then you took the ride truck out.
Yeah, we had so Misha, Eric's wife's sister, had been in Japan for the last year with the military, and she came home, and because there was too many people, we actually had it in the shop. We took the semi out and everything, so the shop was more than big enough. Well, the ride truck was way at the back door, and Eric's truck was in front of it, just so we could have a bigger area up in front. And Misha's oldest sister, little girl, said, I want to ride. So she actually rode in it. She was the ring bearer for their wedding. And during their wedding, you remember Ron with Maverick truck?
Yes.
Okay, he's an ordained minister. So he's the one that married Eric and Misha. And we had it out on our property, and we literally took straw bales, and that's what we made all the seats out of. We made the altar, and then behind the straw bales on the what would have been the left side of the altar was a steel ramp we used for Hell's Kitchen. And Eric came in. Best way to describe this, it's going to be on YouTube soon. I'm just waiting for the video. Here's everybody was sitting here. You come in behind everybody and hook a left. And I mean, you were way away, but you just idled in. He hooked a left, and he came, and he literally jumped across the altar, behind the altar, but across it, and then spun a donut, came back, parked, and then he walked down the aisle. Then the ride truck brought the whole wedding party in, parked. They all walked down the aisle. And then Misha came in on her truck, met her dad, and then he walked her down the aisle.
Oh, that's pretty interesting. So, like you said, so going back to last week, so her sister came in, and then
Oh yeah,
I saw a video. Yeah, the video.
Hey, I told you what happened about this.
Yeah,
you know.
But it was a pretty cool video seeing that, though.
Yeah, the little girl came up and she had some Skittles, and she gave them to Eric if he'd give her a ride in the ride truck. So yeah, that's what he was doing. He was out playing in front of the shop.
And the cool thing is, I remember you always talking to us about your property, and you could fit. Obviously, you had some Monster Jam trucks there for a couple weeks, and you guys have opportunity to just let those trucks run around if you wanted to.
Yeah, we have. When Misha started, so I've got 13 acres way out alongside me. And then right next to the shop, I have 2 acres. And then all the houses are on the opposite side. So like when Misha started driving, I made her drive an hour every night for 2 weeks. We got jumps out there and everything. I made her do it just so when she did drive, she could drive. And I'm not saying like she was going out to win everybody, but I didn't want her embarrassing herself by not being able to drive, not having enough time behind the wheel. How's that sound?
Yes. Yeah, seat time's always key, but if you have someone running the truck and people will be like, well, that person looks like they fit in, then as long as you're safe and people are safe, that's all that matters.
Yeah. Like I said, I got a couple acres right next to the shop where we have everything set up and whatnot. And the only thing next to it is a cement wall up to the shop, and then it's the shop the whole way. So it just works out. Yes, if something went wrong, we're running kill radios, everything else. A hell of a lot bigger than an arena. Let's say that much.
Yeah.
And Eric likes to go out there and when we test shocks and whatnot, it gives him a place to be able to go do that.
So we do have. It's up to you if you want to talk about this, but people have also commented saying, "Hey Rick, how you doing? How you feeling?" Um, uh, yeah, multiple people asking about you know how you're feeling, how you doing, and thank goodness you're here, and it's just a close call.
Well, actually, it wasn't a close call. It actually happened. I came back. Just so the people that don't know, like I was shocked when you told me you didn't know about it.
No, I
Um,
just I all I did was follow through, and I knew you went to the hospital, and then when I was talking to Eric, he said, yeah, he was gone not once but twice, and I was like, what? And then I came over to you saying, what? You're telling me you left this earth for twice, come back here, and and that could mind bug me because I didn't think it was going to be that. I mean, you try to show, respect and stuff like that. And you try to, you don't want to nose in and find out what's going on. You just go through, social media through the grapevine. And all I heard was, you went to the hospital for a few days. And I didn't know it was a few weeks.
yeah, so 2 years ago, April 5th, I just passed my 2-year mark. December 23rd, 2023. Yeah, 2023. I had a contract with a promoter for like 35 shows. Christmas Eve, I get an email that says, we're not using you at all. Find somebody else. Put a lot of stress on me and whatnot. And I wasn't smart enough to look at everything I had. I looked at everything I had that I was building that we were supposed to team up with and all kinds of stuff like that. That now I spent money that I really don't need. Everything kind of built up. We were down in LA for a video shoot, and Hot Wheels had called me and asked if I could do a display in San Francisco. And I said, yeah, I'm going to be down close there. This is going to work. I'll make it work. We did the video, changed the body. What body? It was the Golden State Warrior body for the basketball team up there. And changed the bodies. Left my friend's house in Southern California, went to Frank's house. Frank lives just south of the Grapevine in California by Magic Mountain. And we went, had breakfast. We took off. I got to the top of the Grapevine, started coming down, and had a major stroke behind the wheel. So many things happen that are unexplainable. When I got to the top of the Grapevine, Eric told Misha, I'm going to sit up in front with Dad just to make sure everything's okay. I had the stroke. Eric yanked me out as we're going down a 6% grade, yanked me out of the driver's seat, jumped in, and got the truck back under control. I had knocked it into neutral. I mean, that poor kid had everything going against him. Misha got me in back. I stopped talking for the second time. Luckily, we had some frozen peas in the refrigerator of the toter home because she put them on my head because it was hurting so bad, not knowing what was going on. Get down to the bottom of the hill, and stubborn, grouchy old man starts talking again. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm fine. And they're like, you don't know what you just went through. Do you remember driving? No. And so this whole thing blew up. Nobody knows what's happened. We just don't know, So Eric calls a friend that we know and he takes me to the hospital. Thank God I didn't get an ambulance, because there's 2 hospitals in Bakersfield. One's a really good one, one's not so good. He took me to the good one because he knew. Went in, they said he's had 2 strokes. I had a brain bleed and a brain clot. So he calls my wife, because my wife's here in Idaho, and says, they're admitting him. Come down in the morning. There's nothing you can do. You don't need to be driving all night. Just come down in the morning. She wakes up and to come down, and the phone call is, we need your permission to put a pick in your husband's heart. And she's like, what do you mean? And she goes, he coded last night and died. And we brought him back. When they brought me back, I, had a couple instances, and then they shocked my heart again, put me on life support so they could control it. I was on life support for 7 days, completely out. I didn't have a clue. Came back, or woke up, and this is where the story. So I've always believed the day you were born and the day you die, God already has that written down. Riding dirt bikes, doing all the dumb stuff that I've done. I've never worried about it because I'm not scared of dying. I don't want to die, but I'm not scared to die. I know my day's already printed out, and when that happens, I may fall over and hit my head, or I may be doing something stupid in a truck. I don't know, but I'm not going to live worried about that. So, and I think that's why Eric came up front, is there was different things that happened to make everything be okay. I mean, we didn't hit anybody going down the hill. Why, we swapped seats and all that kind of stuff. So there was a lot going on. Frank met us at the hospital, or met Eric and Misha, because I was out. Frank told him, you best get to that display, because if your dad wakes up and you're not at that display, he's going to kill you. So Eric called Travis. Travis got 2 plane tickets to meet him in Fresno. Missed that plane and had to buy another ticket so he could meet Eric. Eric got behind the wheel, no CDL, no nothing, and drove from Bakersfield to Fresno to pick up Travis so they could go do the display. Then the next weekend was Phoenix, Arizona. And Terry Woodcock and Gary Schott were down there, and they just kind of put the kids in between them and, made sure they were all right and whatnot. And then on the way back, Dave Woodcock, Terry's brother, actually drove my rig back to Bakersfield. So, because Eric didn't have his license, but to come back and see me. But during all this time, I'd woke up, I choked, and here's what, like I said, here's where it gets really crazy. I choked. I dreamed I was at the starting line of 24 Hours Le Mans, and what down my throat, and what all this stuff was some kind of breathing technique so I could run the race. It was to teach me to calm down. I went back to sleep. They yanked all the tubes out of my throat and everything, and I woke up like 45 minutes later, and it was a male nurse, watching over me, and he goes, "How you feel?" "Fine." "Why?" He goes, "You know where you're at?" And I'm like, "I hope a hospital, because you got needles in my arms and bags over my head." And he goes, "Yeah, you are." He goes, "Where?" I ain't got a clue. He goes, "Do you know why you're here?" And I'm like, "No." "Can you remember yesterday?" "No, now that you mention it, I can't." He goes, "You're in Bakersfield, California, blah, 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 blah." He goes, "Your wife will be here in 2 hours." I go, "No, she won't." I go, "I live in Idaho. Hauling butt, she's 12 hours away, minimum." And he goes, "No, she's already here." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" She'll be here in 2 hours. And I'm like, well, why'd she get a hotel room in Los Angeles? He goes, why would you say that? I said, that's 2 hours away. Well, he's running out, gets the doctor, comes back, says, hey, he knows directions. He knows where he's at. I mean, because my wife was told I was going to be tied to a wheelchair and a vegetable for the rest of my life. So when I woke up talking, it was like, oh, wait a second, what's going on? And so I called Eric that night, and he was telling me, or later that day, and he was telling me he was having problems getting the trucks running with the fuel system. So I got a notepad out and I started writing everything down, and hey, try this, try that, and I finally came up with a system, and he goes, it works. I said, all right, just leave it like that and we'll change it when it gets back home. He had to adjust for the heat and altitude and all that kind of stuff. And the other doctor walked in and goes, what are you talking about? And I told him, I go, we got a methanol motor and we have to change the pills, the nozzles, and all that stuff for altitude, where you were last and whatnot. And he goes, did it work? I go, yeah, he said it did. Why? He goes, we didn't think you'd be able to talk, let alone comprehend stuff like that. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. And I had to stay in for another week and a half because during the time my heart went down to 19%. So it was on heart failure mode. And that's when I left the hospital. It was on heart failure mode. I had to wear this big life jacket. It had a 24-volt battery hooked on me. It sucked, but it made me through. What was it? 3 weeks after I came home, I was behind the wheel of a semi driving again.
Wasn't you talking about, like, you asked the doctor, like, how long what do I need to take this off of me?
So now that this has happened, I'm out of the hospital. You have to have a neurologist, an oncologist, all these different doctors to go see and, do all this kind of stuff. So I was at the heart doctor and I got this big thing on me, and I go, when's this come off? And he goes, Rick, this is your first visit. I go, when does it come off? And what do I need to do to make it come off? And he goes, well, you'll probably be in it for almost 3 months. I'm like, not a chance. I go, I will not let that happen. What do I need to do to get it off? He goes, well, your heart. So like your heart, if it's perfectly healthy, only beats 60%. That's a perfectly healthy heart. I was at 19. He goes, you need to hit 50 and you can take it off. And they put dye inside your blood and, they monitor it, the whole 9 yards. I've got a square underneath my skin right here, and it actually monitors me.
So like a pacemaker?
So the doctors have no, it's not a pacemaker. This is just a 24-hour loop that sends it to the cloud. I've got this big old magnet on the back of my phone, and there's an app obviously on my phone, and it sends all the information up to the cloud so they know what my heart's doing at all times. They can just look it up and say, okay, you've done this, you've done that type deal. So there's all this going on. I think about the 5th time, my heart doctor said, Rick, do you understand you died? I looked at him. I'm like, would you quit dwelling on the past and let's look at the future? And he's like, this guy's going to pull this off. He's got too much of an attitude not to. And I mean, knock on wood, when I saw you, if you would have like, if I would have went to your championship bowling tournament, you would have noticed different things happening. I have a problem with my memory. I'm going to have to live with that. I have horrible eyesight now. The stroke attacked both eyes.
That's why you only can drive at the nighttime, not in the nighttime.
Yeah, daytime only. The medicine I'm on actually puts crystals in your eyes. So the best way to describe it is like if it was sprinkling at nighttime and you hadn't used your wipers yet, yeah, a car's coming at you, and you see a million lights, off all the spots. That's what I see.
Oof.
Um, it, it's going to be my life. I got to deal with it. Um, I've I have got some good news this week or into last week. Um, Two things. One, they took me off the seizure medicine because I have no symptoms whatsoever, um, which causes other problems. The seizure medicine causes depression, causes tiredness, all kinds of stuff that I don't want. And those are the ones that know me know that's not me. Um, and then today, I found out part of my vision will come back. Um, I got cataracts. So some of that, I still have the crystals in my eyes, but the cataract surgery will help see a little better. It'll help the glare.
Man.
So.
Yeah, there's an update if anyone was curious. I was updated and I was like, what the heck? At the end of the show. And
Well, like the
thank God.
nurse at the hospital was the best. Um, you know me, I like to joke around, I like to have fun, That's just me. And when I was told what all happened, I was on life support and all that. This nurse comes in and goes, "Welcome back." And I looked at her, just the doctors didn't get my sense of humor. She did. I said, "Well, God wasn't ready for me. And when I told the devil what I wanted to do, he was too worried I was going to take over. So he kicked me back." And without missing a beat, the nurse looked at me and goes, "I knew the devil had to be a guy." And I was like, "Good one." So, but yeah,
Man.
I mean, I don't know why. Well, I go back to, I know my day's set. I believe in that. Um, and I believe there's something that God wants me to do that I haven't done yet. And I don't know what it is. And I hope I'm a good enough man to be able to do it when it comes time. That's all.
Right on. Well, thank goodness you're still keeping on, keeping on, And it's always been fun. Always a good time to talk to you and stuff like that and your family. But is there any social media people can follow you at?
Yeah, Obsession Race Team on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, um, TikTok. I do my best, but since this has happened, it's gotten way slower because I do have a hard time processing everything. And like at the show, I don't know if you noticed, I'm much more chilled. I can't afford to get uptight and impatient and all that kind of stuff like I used to. It's just
Hey, same thing with Tim. He's chilled also now. So, but he still has that racing mentality, which you still have that racing mentality also. I mean, the equipment that's behind you, is beautiful, and you got a new one coming up here soon. So, always top notch. Even all the way back to 1996 when you built your first monster truck, they still look good. So they clean and everything like that. So,
Tell
um,
Mike Mentor he must be sending you stuff because that's who's trying to call.
oh yeah,
That-
he keeps on saying next level.
Tell him, first of all, he has to know what that is.
Oh, must be pretty good on that Hot Wheels deal. Yeah, he said, is that CRD going to be next level? And then he put down also, he also said, this episode's next level. So I'm staying away from that.
Tell him, just mark on his or on his email. Just put the CRD's waiting for his kid Mason.
There we go.
Because if you want to see the truck do good, you want to see a kid drive.
Mm.
I'm no different though. So,
But I think your guys' next show is going to be the once was in next level show, but in Washington State Fair, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the Washington State Fair. Caden called me. Caden used to work for Monster Jam, and he's doing a few shows of his own, and it just worked out good. And I was like, yeah. And I thought I actually weren't you guys booked into that and then have to go to a display?
Mm-hmm. And then that dropped out because we since Ram got that NASCAR deal, we've been doing a lot of that stuff. So
Yeah.
we're doing that, and then a couple other promotions, a lot of corporate stuff. Not a lot of like dealerships and stuff. A lot of corporate stuff, which is pretty cool.
You know what? You got to make the sponsor happy, even if it's not racing and just being places and stuff like that. That's what the sponsor needs to sell trucks.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the part of business a lot of the drivers or a lot of the teams don't get. They're the monster truck mentality is I'm here to race or I'm here to freestyle, da 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 da. But the whole reason I've had such luck with sponsorships, and whatnot, I figure out what the sponsor wants. And 9 times out of 10, it's not how you did this weekend. Who saw you is what they want. Oh, and by the way, one of your reps that was there in Oklahoma bought Misha's shirt.
Yeah, he told me about that, but he got himself. We had a pink Raminator T-shirt too, so he got himself one of those. But yeah, he told us about that too. But everything's fixed.
But see, this is the kind of stuff that old school people that have been in a while. How long have you been in it, Cheech?
I mean, since 2014 when I was with Monster Jam, but with Hall Brothers 2018.
Okay. And so Eric's 30 years old. He's been driving since he was 14. So even though he's younger, he's still got to. There's a difference between today's teams and yesterday's teams. Yesterday's teams, you never left an event without going around saying goodbye to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not theirs like it used to be. I would love to see some of the old school stuff come back. And when I say old school, not driving wise, but friendship wise. And, I can remember doing a lot of miles with a lot of different teams.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody hanging out, having a good time. Like you and Eric and Misha and you guys all went out and went bowling. That's the kind of stuff that made this industry, because everybody helped everybody helped everybody. A buddy of mine races boats, and they have a huge regatta here in Burley, and he always comes here and stays here when it's race weekend. And Eric was asking me, why doesn't Peter hang out with the other boat racers? I go, dude, this ain't monster trucks. I go, none of them will talk to each other. It's all about winning and nothing else. And he goes, man, that's weird. And he just can't comprehend what he's been in this for so long and everybody helps everybody. He's shocked that in an industry like that, nobody wants to help each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not how we are. I mean, if we can help, we're going to help.
Yeah. And I noticed that with the NASCAR world too. As soon as they're done, they're packed up and already gone. I mean, the next group comes in and they're already focused on something else. And it's just like a little bit of a different territory, I guess, when we do our displays there. And, they need to know what we do. And we're a lot more open armed. Like, I think Monster Trucks always reminds me of NHRA drag racing. If anyone never went to one, you guys definitely need to go to one, because they're always there helping each other. They're there also. You can meet them, talk to them, always open arms. And the same thing with us. Like, I mean, when we left the Enid, we all said goodbye, and we're not, I don't know. I was taught to be like that because you help someone out, but but I know in the monster truck world they'll remember that, and
Yep.
then when you're in a situation that needs help, they'll come back and help you out. I always tell people before we leave, I always say, "Hey, you got anything? You need anything done? Are you good to go?" If they say
Yep.
no, we're fine. Then we'll just say, "Okay, we'll see you tomorrow, or we'll
That's
see you at
it.
the next venue."
Next
Always.
time around.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I was taught that when I was with Monster Jam starting in 2014, like Josh Dyke, uh, you know, uh, um, oh man, Bobby Powers, Cole Vennard, they all went ahead and, looked at all the teams in the tour and they'd be like, "Hey, you need help?" Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Or when a truck roll over, you try to help out, and then you'll remember what's going on and stuff like that. So that's how I was always taught, and I still do that today. Try to get the rest of the guys to think about that also. Um, it's just the camaraderie, the friendship, the good talk to. Yeah, during the show, that 2 hours of time, you're you're my Russia, and and I'm your Russia when we're lining up. But when we're done and both trucks are inside that trailer all ready to go, and you put on a good show for the fans, and it's just back to having a good time.
I remember talking about friendships and whatnot. So Woos was Adam's crew guy. I'm going to say 2019,
Hmm.
2018, right in that range. And Adam and Eric are in the finals. Now, Eric's already beat Neil, Elliott. When you have those nights that everything goes your way, you're just unstoppable. You just keep going.
On the
Um,
rail.
yeah, exactly. It was always, for me at least, a good win first round, and I was going to run it for the whole night. I was on the rail. I was on. Everything was going. Um, Eric had that night. Well, Adam and Eric line up in the finals, and they come out of the last corner, and Adam's crooked, and he mats it for everything he has. Eric mats it for everything he has, and they hit each other in the air and go off on two wheels. Eric won, but as they're going like this on two wheels, um, Woos is standing right next to me, and he hits me. Adam says congratulations over the radio. So I mean, it's stuff like that. And then that later on that night, they were interviewing Eric, and a lot of people have seen this picture. A lot of people haven't, but Adam came up and gave Eric a kiss on the big screen, and there was a photographer there that got the picture and then sent it to me, and a lot of people saw it. So I was like, that's because they're both second generations and they understand how their dads fought to get where they're at, and not fight other monster trucks, but just fight economy and, trying to get everything you need and this and that.
Hmm.
So it's definitely a cool thing. I mean, I feel so lucky that I'm part of this. Does it have its down days? 100%. But does it have its days where just, everything goes right?
You have your
Definitely.
pinch yourself moments where
Yeah.
this is the reason why I keep on doing what I'm doing.
And honestly, a lot of people are going to say this doesn't sound right, but I honestly have more fun watching Eric and Misha drive than me ever being behind the wheel. And I don't know why. Well, I know why I like watching Eric because he does things in the truck I could never do. I could only dream of doing what he does. But then to see years and years and years ago, Eric had a girlfriend, and I made the comment, it'd be really cool to see her drive. And they've split up and whatnot. So when he met Misha and she was like, yeah, I'll try it. It was like, oh man, I remember talking about this. Now it's actually coming true, and she takes pride of her truck. Eric, we all know, takes pride of his stuff. Um, he was working on the semi, because it didn't have a few things he liked and whatnot. And it's nice to know, even if I'm not there, I know the team is well represented.
Man, that's awesome. And it's always great to talk to you guys. And like I said, it's exciting. And hopefully I will see you around more than you were telling me the last time you saw Mark and Tim was like a show in Irwindale Speedway.
Yeah, and it was, I want to say it was when they first got.
Like 0203, that's what Tim was talking about. It was like,
Oh, you talked to him about it?
Yeah, it was like one of the first years with Raminator.
Yes. Yep. And it was red.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
A deal. He was talking about. It was a deal with one of the sponsors was a dealership there, and they got them over there with what was it? Anyway, that they all, because he talks about, because we also have this thing called a spot free rinser that he got from Irwindale, and you learned about that. That thing is a heaven tool, especially when you have a lot of strong iron material in your water that will leave, water droppings all over your,
Yep.
Your wrap or stuff like that, and you could see it. The spot free, just you put the soap in, you hit it with the spot free, and it's just it looks mint, and I like that. And he told the story about how he got it from Irwindale, and he mentions that was one of the last shows, not counting if you did Monster Jam shows, but the last time Mark and Tim raced you. I mean,
yeah, I definitely, because they're on the other side of the world, other side of the world to us. I mean, I can think of probably a handful of times I got to race with them. One was a Pro MT in Phoenix. That'd be like 02 or whenever that was going on. But I think
it
like
was him and
02.
Rente there, I believe.
Yes. I've ran with them back when they had Executioner with Milestone Motorsports, and then we ran Las Vegas Motor Speedway together.
I was about to say that was Executioner. You ran with Equalizer, Samson, I think Dragon Slayer, that little tour, because they had the CBS Eyewitness group that was
Yes.
filming and stuff like that, which was pretty cool. Pretty unique knowing that you were almost with that group.
Yeah. Well, I was with them, just not all the time, because like what most people don't realize is if you see a truck on TV commercials, movies, anything, it's me, Terry Woodcock, or Gary Schott. 9 times out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Even though our trucks don't look like our trucks, that's again why I did the color underneath them. So people know, hey, that's Swanson's, But these are all things like, it's funny that the crowd, you get the real super fans and they might know, but even a lot of them don't know how much TV stuff we've done over the years. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, like you said, like basically you three were the ones that do a lot of the music videos, televisions. Sometimes occasionally later on, the Ramers did a couple stuff also for television. But it was mostly you guys. And so you guys tour around and stuff, and we were talking about on the phone, which was pretty crazy to talk about. But back when before they did the touring, you were talking about how the West Coast Monster Jam shows would have your truck, the Ramers, Captain USA, Shocker, Terminator, and you guys basically had a full schedule just running the West Coast.
Yeah.
And that was the exciting part, knowing that, hey, you guys have your own kind of your own division, I guess, with Monster Jam when back then. But you got West all we see that, this and that, and regional wise, because like we talked on the phone, like you're good friends with Pat Suma and Thrasher, but you never lined up against them. But like for instance, for me, I'm used to seeing Pat Suma and Thrasher, or the Slipcoes and Eradicator and Backdraft or Rap Attack. I never got to see a lot of times, Obsession and Terminator and stuff like that. But out west, like Levi and Trevor and all them, they got to see you guys frequently. They never got to see Rap Attack or Thrasher or any of that. But it was cool back then how everything was regional. And like you said, you can book most of your first quarter just based off of the Monster Jam shows that was around your area.
Yeah, up and down the West Coast. It used to be you didn't even book summer shows. I mean, there were a couple of them that you knew you were going to have, but you basically did Monster Jam through April, and then started booking your summer shows after that. And there was plenty of them. Nowadays it if you don't do a tour, if you don't do this, if you don't do that, if you don't sign your life away, it seems like, to one promoter, we don't want you. And it's like, guys, this isn't what made this business what it is. I am not a fan of traveling all over the United States to quote unquote be in a tour. We did that last year. If you're running trucks and somebody wants to go, more power to them. For you, you have to, because you got to satisfy Dodge. Perfect example. You need to go as many places as you can. Right now, we have no major sponsorship. So why do I want to go anything more than 400 miles from the house? You know what I mean? Doesn't mean I won't go more if I could book a couple, but to do a tour, it's like, man, you're signing your life away, because what are you going to miss doing the tour? And not say you won't make a lot of money on a tour, because it's every weekend back to back to back. But sometimes your life has to have some value in it too, and not be on the road nonstop.
So like you said, you just book those beginning, like, doing Anaheim 1, Anaheim 2, Oakland, San Diego.
Yep.
Then in summertime, you're going to have Red Bluff and Salina. And sometimes maybe the Orange County. Is it Orange
County Fair? We had Fresno. We had Del Mar. We had, I bet just up and down the West Coast, you had a minimum of 20 to 25 shows you could do. Period. There was that many shows.
Well, I think you did the Arizona State Fair too, right?
Yep, done that a bunch of times. And now All Star does it in the State Fair, and then Grand Canyon Promotions used to do it in April for the County Fair. The Pomona Fair we used to do, Pomona LA Fair. That was always on a Thursday night because they wanted to draw more people in. There was just so many places, and people think of fairgrounds and go, oh, just a fairground. Like it's not a big show, but like LA Fair, San Diego Fair, Red Bluff is the West Coast Nationals at a fairground. So these shows they weren't Monster Jam by no means, but they were still big shows with lots of people in attendance.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it wasn't, it's not a mediocre, show. I mean, look at Red Bluff. How many years did they have Digger, Max T, and a Bigfoot? John Shipman used to have them all the time together. People that couldn't do this, he was able to do when he was alive. There was just a lot of promoters that worked really good with the locals and then would bring a truck in, I don't know how many years. Well, last year I am so thankful I went on the tour for a lot of the tour last year because I got to see Dan Runty before he passed away, and I hadn't seen him in a long time. Larry Swim, there's a lot of people that it's been a long time since I got to see that I get to see now. And
that Chico was always a popular place too.
Yes. Yep. Chico. Roseburg, Oregon was an outdoor track, big outdoor track. Irwindale, they did about 6 times. Never, it was never a constant thing. You know what I mean? What else?
Trevor was talking about Paris.
Oh, Paris. Back in the day, Paris used to be a blast because Jimmy Creedon was always there. And me and Jimmy are great friends. We really are. But I mean, as far as competition went between us in racing, we were complete enemies trying to win each other in racing. I mean, to the point where I don't care if I lose next round. I just got to beat Jimmy this round, and he was the same way. It went back and forth. So it was a lot of, the older days just seemed to have a lot more, what I believe, competition, and a lot more respect for each other, I think.
And then a couple of one, Turlock and Sublimity, Oregon was another.
Oh yeah. Yep. We'll be in Sublimity this year.
And then like we said before, that Washington State Fair is another
it was big
show, especially being a concrete iron car show.
Lee Collins used to take dumpsters and turn them upside down and put ramps up and ramps down them. That was your tabletop. And he'd put 4 or 5 dumpsters in a row. So yeah, there was a lot of really, really cool stuff. And don't get me wrong, there's still a lot of cool stuff, but it just seemed like there was a lot more years past. How's that?
Gotcha. Yeah, I wish I personally think Monster Truck should go, I guess, down a few notches, maybe 2 notches down. For me, I feel like the golden years of of some of the Monster Truck world was from like 05 to 2014. 15, 16 type esque. If they just go back to bring today's is good, but probably throw in some of the fundamentals and knowing what was Monster Trucks and what's like the identity of it, would be good.
Well, like, I feel sorry for somebody trying to get in the industry today. It is elevated so high that if you don't come in with a background, you're doomed. I mean, it's just, you're just doomed, period. I think, I shouldn't say you're doomed. You're in for a hard life. How's that?
Hard climb.
Yes. Yep. A real hard climb. Unless you come in with another team, then it's a lot easier, but you're still, you come in with the Hall brothers. You come in with a very established team. You know what I mean? But how many people that you have seen come in with a ton of money and within 3 years they're gone?
Quite a few.
You know what I mean? Because for lack of better words, I'm going to call them rich guys. Buy a truck, usually buy an awesome toter home, come in and you're like, who is this? And then to find out it's a new guy, and then they're gone. Because the guy that has that kind of money is used to making 60 to 50% on everything he does. Now he goes, tears up a motor, does this, does that, makes 10%. And he's like, oh, screw this. I don't make enough money. And I get it. It's a fact of life, and I understand that perfectly. But I think it does shape our industry a little, that you need the long haulers to actually make it work.
Yeah. And then also the dedication and stuff like that. And then, not trying to shove all your money in the situation too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of guys go and they get successful. Just as an example, like, okay, you have the truck behind you, Eric's obsessed, and you're so successful for that. And you're like, oh, I'm going to build another truck. Pretty obsessed. But you take all the parts from your truck that's right behind you to put it in that truck. And then now, instead of having backup parts for your blue truck, now you have to scramble for backup parts for a blue and pink truck.
Yep.
Just to make ends meet. And I think a lot of people make a mistake about that. And, if you're ready to build a second truck, you need to get all the parts for it and some before that truck is even put together. So then your other truck can still have its parts that it needs to be and go from there. People think,
exactly.
Right now, just one truck's double the work, two trucks is quadruple the work.
Yep. Exactly. And just like the truck in the back, the next CRD that we're doing, Eric enjoys building them because they come in a kit and he welds them all together. But that is just so it matches the blue one 100%. Because right now we got two different frames, two different four-link setups, two different shock setups. We want to go back to having one. And I mean, we get all our parts from Dan, 100%. I think we get everything from them. But like I told Tim when I was talking to Tim with CRD, I'm like, you've got the best sales you can ever have is Monster Jam, flipping these things over every single weekend, and they're still in one piece.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you have like when you had the two Patrick trucks together, that was, you had all the parts and everything together too. So I guess you would say, what is that, David Smith chassis? They're pretty obsessed. Yeah.
It's a real David chassis because somebody else copied them and they had nothing but problems with them. They weren't an exact copy. That's what happened to Shane. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And I feel bad because Shane was sitting in my dining room and I told him how much we liked the trucks. And then everything that happened, and it wasn't a Dave Smith chassis. So I was just like, oh, sorry.
Man. Yeah, that fiasco. Crazy stuff. But
I mean,
hey,
short on a back flip.
And damaging the cage and everything like that. But once again, Rick,
the cage came down or something.
Yeah, and destroyed the whole truck pretty much. It was gone.
Sad.
But hey, Rick, thank you so much. We just reached the 2-hour mark. We could probably go all night, but end this program here. Like you said, people can follow you guys on Instagram, Facebook, see them, and Washington State Fair. That's going to be a good show. Caden's promotion company, I think it's Crush Zone. That's going to be the first show of the year, first show ever for that group. So show some love and see that. That's going to be pretty much a stack lineup, probably like we talked about all the top West Coast trucks are probably going to be there, and that's going to be a fun time. So, Rick,
Yeah, it
thank you
should be
again.
fun.
I think I'm going to try to get Eric and Misha on and have them two on there, and then hopefully we'll have you chimed in.
No, I had to do it by myself. They're going to have to do it by themselves.
Okay, I think they got that, and it'll be a good time. But thank you, Rick. Thank you for being on, and it was a great time. Thank you. It was a fun episode.
Well, thanks for having me, and thanks for everybody for watching. Hopefully, our paths cross sooner or later.
Will do. 10-4. Knock on wood. So, hey guys, next week I think we're gonna hold up because I will be on the road, and then we'll have another guest. I think next month we're gonna probably try to have Eric and Misha on next month to spread the love. So Brad will be on next month, not next week, next month. Let me say that. Next month also Brad will be on also. So can't wait to hear his stories about college and everything like that. So once again, thank you to J Concepts. Thanks to all the people that sponsored. Thank you guys for being on. And once again, what Brad always says, keep the rubber side down and the shiny side up. Peace.